They say things that are not orthodox. I do curse. I do talk about sex. So, if you're looking for a clean slate or a clean way of somebody explaining how narcissists, they're dirty, they ain't about shit, they're about destroying you eventually, then, you probably don't want to listen to this show, okay? Because it's no holds barred with them, all right? So, in the beginning, when you first get with a narcissist, you may find out this man has a lot of charisma and sex appeal. And, most likely you met this man, around a crowd of people who, he made people laugh. And everyone seemed to be drawn to this man. But, you find out after a while, after being with this narcissist, he's nothing but a spiritual demonic demon who will eventually crush your heart and your soul. And trust me, most women who end up dealing with narcissists, at the end of the day, 99% of women will feel cheated out of a happy life dealing with a man like this who has a narcissistic personality disorder. Okay? And the truth is, most narcissists, they generally feel worthless. They're worthless people who cause depression and lack thereof to people that are around them. Unfortunately, narcissistic men get bored of women and people fast. Okay? And they get bored so fast that they always have like a good supply. Okay? What I call is a spare tire in their spiritual trunk. Okay? That they're eager to fuck with because for whatever reason, being in a relationship with a narcissist, he will explain that you eventually irritated him and, eventually he has resentment towards you and, he feels like he needs to put you on the bench and go after his new supply. Okay? But the unfortunate thing is when you get with a narcissist, you will find out, okay, later on in the relationship that you're going to be exposed to drug abuse, alcohol abuse, reckless sexual behavior, okay, that can put your life and the lives of others in danger. It's a fact, okay? If you are with a narcissist, 99.9% for sure you're going to get played. That's how they get down, okay? Narcissistic men always have a good supply of people on the side that they can tap into if you're not fluffing them up in life. Okay? And when you're dealing with a narcissistic man who has conditioned his mind to believe that he has the option to go out there and have sex with as many people as he wants to, putting your health in danger, this is a dangerous man. A dangerous man. There's lots of women out here who are suffering from all kinds of sexual diseases and pain, fibroids, all kinds of things because they have put trust in this man and, they have pretty much opened themselves up and allowed this man to enter into her gateway unprotected, eventually destroying her little by little because she doesn't know how much of a creep he is and how he, tries to give off this impression like he's a good guy, he's a hero, when all in actuality, he's the exact opposite of that. All right? And, this man, he manages to, have a circle of flying monkeys around them that, he uses as a scapegoat. Okay? And, he's communicating with all these different people. And, before you know it, you're involved in this man deeply. And, if you're not careful, he can damn near destroy your reputation. I'm probably not going to have time to talk about this, but I do want to talk about pregnancy with narcissists. I haven't heard of any videos of how they, how people talk about how women who get caught up with narcissistic men and they eventually become pregnant. I really want to talk about that. Unfortunately, I think that's just going to be a series on its own. How, unfortunately, if you're not wise enough, if you're not witty enough, if you're not strong enough, your narcissistic boyfriend can get you caught up. See, men narcissists, they have another thing that I talked about in that series when I talked about the fact that, you know, if they get hooked up with a woman who's a narcissist, she can have a child by him and his ass will end up in court and he'll be paying out the ass. He'll be dying and dead by the time he's done with her. See, women, on the other hand, you know, it's kind of like a different scenario for women who deal with men who are narcissists, because you may not go through financial stress forever dealing with this man, because we'll talk about that, because you will be dealing with narcissist financial disaster, okay, after dealing with the man. But I'll talk about that in the beginning. But the difference between men who deal with women and narcissists is that their ass may die in debt. The difference with women who deal with men narcissists is the fact that you may become pregnant by this man, and then, you know, eventually you have the baby, and then, you know, unfortunately you find out that you had a baby by a man who's a demon. You know, you have a baby by a man who doesn't want to be a man. He doesn't want to be a father. He neglects you and the children or the child. You know, the unfortunate thing is you may find out that you have a baby by a man who's not about that life, and he's moving on, okay? Because they all move on, all of them. If he's a narcissist or she's a narcissist, they're moving on. They move on within the relationship. They're always moving on. You're stuck, and they want you to be stable and still while they move on consistently throughout the relationship. And then you find out you have a child by this man, you know, who eventually, you know, unfortunately, a lot of women, when they get in relationships with men, sometimes, you know, they get wiped off their feet, and they're so overcome by all this love bombing that they really can't see the man for who he is. And then before you know it, you're trapped up in this pregnancy, which I will talk about. I won't talk about it now. But you might find yourself trapped up in a pregnancy around 4 months. It seems like they always seem to act up when you're at the point where you can't really, you know what I'm saying? If you had to, whatever, you can't really, because you're over the threshold now where you have a baby inside of you who's growing, has a heartbeat, has limbs and everything like that. So now you're caught up in this pregnancy with this man who has now decided that you ain't the one for him and he needs to move on, and now you're trapped up in pregnancy. But I'll go into that at another time, because that's a whole conversation about disaster of what women will find themselves entrapped in pregnancy and having to be with a child that you're going to raise for the rest of your life. There's no such thing as when the child becomes 18, it's over. No. Once you have a baby, that baby becomes a child. That child becomes a teenager. That teenager becomes an adult. That adult is with you forever. You and this narcissist have something together, which is a child. You have a bond together with this person forever. There's no turning back in time. There's no giving the baby back. This is it. This is why, you know, I think I told you guys that I have a daughter in her 20s. And every time I talk to her, I remind her, look, I know that you're going to eventually fall in love. I know that you're going to probably get hooked up with a guy that you can't see yourself living without. You think about him all day. You're ready to marry him. You're ready to have his baby. Eventually, you may get in contact with a man like that. Most women I know have been in situations like that. Most women I know have been in relationships with men that, you know, they can't wait to marry. They can't wait for him to put a ring on it. But the sad part about it is that, you know, that's the beginning stages of when you get with a man and he's giving you all his glory and he's giving you the good side of him, and he's not really showing you the other side of him until it's too late. Okay? And then, you know, you're finding yourself with a man who at first seemed perfect. Okay? A man that you shared great memories with. You had a great time hanging out with this man. You know, you reminisce about how great the sex was in the beginning and how much he appeared to love you in the beginning. And then, you know, with all that love and lust, you know, you're finding yourself falling hard, head over heels in love with this man. And then, you know, after you guys get tied up, whether it's pregnancy or marriage or him moving in your house, you're finding out, unfortunately, a few short months, a few short years, or whatever the case is, that, you have found yourself entrapped with a man who has given you rules in the relationship, okay? Not to talk to other guys, okay? Not to look at other men. Don't even think about being interested in other men, but I can. This is how narcissists get down. You don't, I can. I'm a man who has the right to date as many women as I want to. I'm the man who has the right to have sex with as many women as I want to. I'm the man who has the right to do whatever I want within this relationship, even though I cannot provide you with those things. You stay still, I keep moving, and if I bump into somebody, okay, who's going to take up what you are doing, if not more, then you will fall, you will get discarded, you will be devalued, and I will move on, all while I expect you to stand still. This is a narcissistic man. I'm just going to go ahead and keep it real with you. Most narcissists run like clocks. Okay? They have a desperate way of trying to fit into quote-unquote society. They always want to give off the impression like they're a good guy and they're normal. And these people are not normal, okay? A lot of narcissistic men, they have the gift to gab. They're handsome. They have great sex. Okay? That's just a fact. And this is why they don't seem to have a hard time moving on. But God forbid, you find yourself as a woman and, you find yourself unlucky and you end up with a narcissist who is consistently experiencing a financial downfall. The next thing you will find yourself being with a narcissistic man is that this man will start to ask you for money and honey. So he wants you to give him money, and then the only thing he can give you in exchange is sex. This is how narcissistic men are running in today's society. In 2018, this is how they get down. Most narcissistic men who are on the broke side of life, because you got two narcissistic men. You have the narcissistic men who have it going on. They're the CEOs. They're the presidents. They have the business. They have the money. They have the power to pretty much treat you like shit, and you can't say anything because they're so powerful. Those are different types of narcissistic men. Then you have the other narcissistic men who is not about that life, who they're consistently experiencing financial downfalls in their life, and they basically expect you to pay them while they live with you and while they sleep with you. Okay? They basically want you to manage everything in the house. God forbid how low this man is. You may find that, you have managed to move this man into your house because, for whatever reason, he has lost his job. He has nowhere to grow. He has nowhere to go. He is broke. He can't do for himself, never mind you. Okay? So you will most likely have a man who can only offer you sex and what seems to be protection. Okay? So, you find yourself with this narcissistic man. He's telling you he has nowhere to go. He's down on his luck. And then, women, we're kind of different from men. Depending on the kind of woman, if it's a narcissistic woman, she's spreading it wide for every Tom, Dick, and Harry that comes and says hi. But if you're not that kind of narcissistic woman, most women who have sex with men, they're not trying to spread it wide for every Tom, Dick, and Harry. Once you spread yourself open and you allow this man into your spiritual gates of sex, you're going to eventually bend, some of your rules. And, excuse me, you're gonna allow this man free passes. And unfortunately, a lot of these free passes have something to do with the fact that he has nowhere to live. So now you have invited him into your home to stay. And as a good quote unquote girlfriend, soon to be his wife, because a lot of narcissists, let me tell you, they love marriage. And I'm going to tell you why they love marriage in the beginning. But anyway, as a good quote unquote girlfriend or soon to be wife, you know, you will push this man to go to school, to get a career. You will damn near find him a job because this man is now living with you and you have put full trust in this man. And, you know, when you're with a narcissistic man, unfortunately, you will find yourself eventually feeling like a girlfriend, a wife, only turning into his mother. Okay? And this is the kind of man who will eventually, ladies, listen to me carefully. If you're dealing with a narcissistic man and he's living in your house and he's worthless, he will eventually backstab you. Okay? And then you will start to notice that he will put his phone on silent. And you may find yourself while sitting there watching TV with these narcissistic men, his phone is going off. It starts vibrating. Before you know it, this man is going off with his thumbs. He's texting with you, or he's trying to give off the impression that he's texting his boy, when all in all, he's really texting another woman. He's getting women lined up and ready for when he appears knocking at their door, okay? Getting ready to go up in her gates and getting her spiritually and mentally prepared for when he dumps you, he has another supply of women he can eventually move on. But let me tell you something, ladies. If you feel that you're with a man who is a narcissist, I highly recommend, okay, to not be blinded. I mean, you know, I've talked to some elder women in my life over these years, and a lot of these women, they're from the old school, and they're on some shit like, well, you know what I'm saying? If you look, you're going to find. If I look and I find, then there's a problem. There's no such thing as if you look, then you're going to find. If I look and I find something, like a man that I'm, you know, allowing him to stay in my home, I'm giving him money, I'm giving him sex, you know, I'm boosting this man up, I'm fluffing him up, I'm encouraging him to go to school, get a career, do the right thing so he could support me and his family to come. You mean to tell me I'm putting all this energy and effort into a man that if you snoop and you find the fact that he's been talking to other women, it's your fault that you found it? So it's your fault that, you know, you put so much energy and effort and financial wherewithal into this relationship only to find out that you're with a man who said that he loved you, but he's telling other women that he loves them too. So that's, you know, so that's with a lot of old school women. They, you know, they're on some shit like don't look. But look only when it's too late, though. You know, scream only when it's too late. When you have found out that this man, okay, has an ongoing cycle of relationships that he has with multiple women that never ever stopped. And even though you have found out and you're crying, you're hysterical, you're going through depression, you know what I mean? He's promising you that he's never going to do it again, all while he's driving your car, okay? Eating your food and taking up your space, okay? He still doesn't respect that. And then you find yourself in a relationship with a narcissistic man that you're consistently kicking out. And then he comes back crying, talking about he's changed. And he's, you know, he's never going to do it again. And he's going to make it right. And then, you know, this, that, and the third. You know, and then it's like, you know, you find yourself involved with this narcissist and you're like, wait a minute. You know, in the beginning, it wasn't like this. In the beginning, you know, this is a man who chased you, who pursued you with attention, gifts, texts, flattery. You know, he so-called proved his love for you. And then gradually, as you got to know him, you realize that, you were engaged in planning a future with this man only after a few dates of being with this man. See, narcissists, that's another thing. A narcissistic man, they move very, very fast. You may find that on the first few dates that you're with this man, he's already talking to you about marriage. He's talking to you about kids. He's telling you, places that he wants to take you on vacation. He's asking you how many children you want, or he's telling you how many children he wants. And then they'll say something dumb and ridiculous like they want 50 children when they don't even want one, and then they worship the ground that you walk on. And, they make you really feel like he's the one. But I warn you women to watch out, especially when you get hooked up with men who don't even know your last name. They don't know anything about your family. They don't know your mother. They don't know your aunts. They don't know your father. They don't even know that you have brothers and sisters. They know nothing about you. But what they do know is that they love you after the first few dates. And then they say it. They don't mean it though. They say, I love you, I love you, I love you. Because they know if they say that and then you say, well, shit, I love you. Because, come on, think about it. If you're with a man and, you're on a date with him, a first few dates. And then next minute, this man is saying, I love you. As a woman, you're not going to be like, okay, you love me. Eventually you're going to find yourself being conditioned. And then you're going to find yourself saying, I love you too. And then before you know it, I love. He loves, you love. And then, before you know it, things are moving fast. You know what I mean? And then you're loving this man more than he's loving you because he's telling everybody, remember I told you, he always has a supply of women on the side. That's what he has. And unfortunately, in these days and times, ladies, the sad part about it, I'm just going to go ahead and keep it all the way 1,000. The sad part about it, what I'm finding out is that, unfortunately, on the dirtiest side of all this narcissism, not only do they have women, but God forbid, if he's on the down low, he has other men on the side. So now you're dealing with this narcissistic man who at one time worshipped the ground that you walked on. Now you find yourself walking on eggshells because you don't want to frazzle him. You don't want to upset him. Because if you do, you may find that he comes up with loads of excuses on why he had to leave and never came back that night. Never came back that weekend. Didn't show up during the holiday time because there was something that you did that caused him to go out there and fall in love with somebody else. A narcissistic man is one of, he's a dangerous man. Okay, he's not to be trusted. And you'll notice as time goes on being in a relationship with a narcissist, that, remember when I told you in the beginning, this man is telling you he loves you the first few dates of being with him. You'll find that eventually after being in a relationship with a narcissistic man, that it's hard for them to say the word I love you. It's hard for them to tell you that you look beautiful, that you look nice. All the things that he was able to tell you in the beginning that was so easy that damn near vomited out of his mouth, you will find eventually after being in a relationship with a narcissist, it will be like pulling teeth for them to tell you the things that they told you so easily in the beginning. And the reason for that is because eventually when you're with the narcissist, this is something that I know that they do for a fact. In the beginning, they idolize you. Okay? They project you in a way of fantasy, everything that, all your flaws, okay, are perfect to a narcissist in the beginning, okay? But you will find after being in a relationship with a narcissist, all your flaws and all the things that bother them at the end, they will make that a big deal and they will become disappointed. They will have resentment towards you. And, hopefully if you're lucky, this man will just eventually disappear out of your life. I know you will feel hurt, brokenhearted, empty, sitting there, with questions unanswered. But trust me, if a narcissist disappears out of your life, take the time out to heal and thank your lucky stars that he did that. Because God forbid, if this man happens to, butter your feet and fluff you up and gas you up, they're going to be into marriage. Okay? The truth is, a lot of narcissistic men, they target women for marriage. They like to lock down women and make them their primary source as fuel and supply. Why wouldn't a narcissistic man get married? Marriage will provide them with main supply. So who's better? Why not, as a narcissistic man, why not lock a woman down who you can mentally manipulate? Okay? Who you can triangulate and cause her to be jealous while taking all her supply from her. They love marriage. But I can tell you one thing, ladies. You don't want to get hooked up with a man who's a narcissist and marry him. Because one thing's for sure. This man will eventually get bored. And pretty much 99.9% of the time, infidelity will be injected into the relationship. Because most narcissistic men are pathological liars. They're gaslighters. And, they're always on the hunt for people that they're going to prey upon. Most narcissistic men, in the beginning, a lot of them do have homes that are fully paid for. They hardly have any bills. They have maybe 1 or 2 kids, a wife that loves them. Life of, that so many normal men, because not all men are like this, but normal men would die for. Normal men will dream of having a beautiful wife, a few children, a beautiful home, hardly any bills, a woman who's 100% supportive of them in anything that they say and do, even through their infidelity and adultery. So many men out there wish they had the opportunity to be in the shoes of a lot of these narcissistic men. But I'm going to tell you, ladies, even though you do everything in your power to, introduce a normal lifestyle to these men, eventually they will become restless and bored of the normal life that most people would love to live. But for some stupid reason, these narcissistic men, they feel like they're not getting the fullest feeling of life. So eventually they will do something stupid. And they will purposely, if you're their wife, they will purposely get into fights with their wives. Over time, they will devalue her. They will discard her. Okay? And for some reason, they will walk around this planet angry and pissed all the time because they have conditioned their minds that they're in this fucked up lifestyle, even though they have a beautiful wife, healthy children, no bills, home fully paid, living in a bomb-ass neighborhood, have this bomb-ass career or job or business. Eventually, something will tick off in a narcissistic mind, and they will condition their minds to eventually take off their ring, and they will find themselves going on dates with other women, who eventually they will find that these women are fantastic, and they will eventually end up having sex with these women. And while you're home as a wife, they will go home and they will bask in their ego and glory, which the wife is totally unaware of because she doesn't know why he looks the way he looks. It's because he's dipping and diving in other people's energy source supply, and he's taken from them, and he's taken from his wife. And, you know, after a while, okay, if he's a human being, because most narcissists, they're not robots. They're demonic, but they're still human. After a while, that behavior will make them guilty. Okay, and then they will start to recondition their wives again. You know, they will want to talk things out. They will want to figure things out after the wife has found that she's been triangulated and there's another woman involved that she has been unknown about being in an affair with. So this is what will eventually happen. So I'll come back and I'll do a part 2. And I thank you for listening because I gotta go. Later.